Jezki, how good is he? I mean, it isn't a lot of hype. He's looked good so far, but this is a test, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a test, and it'll be the first real test of this horse's career. He won the Neptune, and he won convincingly in the Neptune, but the form is very ordinary. He beat Alton, but he was going around in second gear. And look at the horses that have won the Neptune and what they've done since. Istabrak, Hardy Eustace, the new one. They're all smart horses, and I think this horse is in that category. When he won last year at the Punchestown Festival, it was decent ground. And Barry will tell you it was probably really good ground. And he looked really good over 2 miles that day. I think when Ruby turned him on at Ascot, he showed you what he can do, and he sprinted up that home straight. There's no doubting this horse's ability. You've got to remember, it looks like Ruby's going to ride him. He's going to have to get off a dual champion hurdle winner, a winner of 22 Grade 1s. That's not something you do lightly as a jockey, unless you think this horse is a potential superstar. And that's what he is. He could win 5 lengths, and he could win the next 3 champion hurdles. That's how good this horse could be.
Okay, so would you back him at the prices?
Yes, I would. Okay,
Barry, what are your thoughts?
I'm the opposite. I think Fahine is very beatable. Last year's champion hurdle was the best champion hurdle in 10 years. Rock solid race. The new one in Jezki. You know, Jezki hasn't, I don't think he's produced his best form yet. He improved an awful lot last season from his runs before Cheltenham to Cheltenham. He was really good on the day. The new one, maybe slightly unlucky. I think the prices of those two are dismissive, having Fahine so short. He beat Purple Bay and Blue Fashion. That's his line of form. He missed the last in Kempton when he sprinted clear. You know, if you do that at either of the last 2 in Cheltenham, you're not, you know, you're very vulnerable. I think he's very opposable, and I think the second and third in the betting, they're too strong to be the price they are.
Okay, yeah.
Very quickly, if you could ride Hurricane Fly or the Machine, what would you choose?
I'd ride Jezki. It's not by riding Fahine, he was going to be third.
No, not the other 2. Who would you ride of the Mullins 2?
You'd have to ride Fahine. Well, Hurricane Fly was beaten 10 lengths last year or so why should he turn the form? I don't think he's as good in England as he is now.
2 champion hurdles, they all say this.
No, but I said last year's champion was the best champion in 10 years. I don't think his champion hurdles have not been dismissive of the horse because he's definitely better in Ireland. I don't think those champion hurdles were the hottest.
And the ground will be against Hurricane Fly, won't it? Reasonably fast ground will be against him.
Yeah, but that's the thing, they're going to water it. Simon Clay's going to overdo the water in the first day. It'll be good this after.
Right, Tom, come on, the Brits. The new one. His jumping has been messy this season, but for the first time this year, he's probably going to get ground that he wants. Are we going to see the real new one?
2 months ago, I'd have said the new one was going to win this race, but at Haydock last time, he was horrendous.
It was a bog that day.
Would
you forgive him that?
He jumped left, he didn't jump, he did everything wrong. For me, I mean, I fully respect Barry sitting here. I thought last year's champion hurdle was one of the worst in 10 years, not one of the best. I thought they all fell in a heap, they all fell over, they did whatever. My 10 till yours pulled hard. I just thought it was a rubbish race. So I'm against Jezki, I'm against the new one, I'm against Fahine. I'm against Hurricane Fly. I like 2 outsiders. I like one Barry rides.
But he hasn't even mentioned.
Vautour, I think he's 50 to 1 or 40 to 1. I think Nicky Henderson has a tremendous record in this race. Blue Royal, Mick rode him, Caterino, lots of outsiders hit the frame. I think he's a good chance on if the ground isn't too, if they haven't watered too much. And I think the horse that was second to Hurricane Fly and Ireland, Arctic Fire, is going to have the race run to suit him. I think he's going to go well as well. I'm not sure they can beat Fahine, but I think they can beat the rest. So for my 2 would be Arctic Fire and Vautour. Fahine, I think, will probably end up winning, but like Barry, I think he's a bad price.
Barry, would you recommend Vautour each way?
His form,
realistically?
Yeah, well, he was second in the Grey One, it was a good run, and I thought he beat the new one, getting £8 off him in Cheltenham was next run on softish ground, and could the new one put him away handy enough. I was a bit disappointed with that, and I wouldn't have the same confidence in him that Tom. He worked really well in Kempton last week on Monday, on good ground, on the all-weather obviously. He picked up really well, he's in great shape. Nicky is raving about him, but you know, the fact I couldn't beat the new one, getting £8 off him, I'm kind of struggling really on that. You're giving me more confidence than anything, and the horse is really well. No, I'd be hopeful. You know, I'd have said I'm a dreamer if I said it only you're back to me, and you're such a clever man.
I agree with Barry. I think Jezki is the standout bet in the race each way because he's even money to be placed. And
I'm gonna let you into a little secret, man. I was lucky enough to go to a preview night the other night, and I happened to bump into JP McManus, and he told me we wasn't going to have a penny on Jezki. He didn't really think he was in the form he was last year, but he's not training him, he's not seeing him, and that might all change, he might have been putting me away, but at the time, he wasn't giving me great vibes that Jezki was the one.
Okay, the mare's hurdle.
Probably means get on, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Mike.
One question you've got to ask, who is going to make the running in the Champion Hurdle? 8 runners will be
Or he is going to make the running.
Or he make the run. But it can be done. R.G. Eustace, Nicholas twice.
Blah, 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 1943.
1936, Victor Norton made all the running. I'll ask you, Barry, I'll ask you, is it the kind of race to make all the running?
Well, you could make it this year without, there's nothing to take him on. Nothing that's going to take him on. They'll stack up behind him. He'll be able to dictate it. So it'll be the right place to be. It'd be madness to try to do something else for me with Fahey. It'll be the right place to be. And it'll be tricky then who gets the run, stacked up on his tail. It does.
Okay, the mare's hurdle. The next odds on shot of the day. Annie Power.
Brilliant jockey.
With or against her, Annie Power.
She's the same as all these odds on shots. She's miles the best horse. She'll probably
win.
She's
a legend, isn't she? Her only defeat came at the festival last year in the World Hurdle.
But we haven't seen her since then. We haven't seen her since then. She's 4 to 7. Does anyone here want to back a horse
at
4 to 7 that you haven't seen for a... Yes, you do? You do? Well, you could do a runnings and accumulate. For me, look, she's by far the best horse. She'll win this in a canter if she's right. They say she's right, but I'm not backing any horse at Cheltenham at 4 to 7.
Okay, Barry. And Glenn's Melody beat her. Or Polly Peacham, what you're riding?
Polly Peacham, likewise. The two horses that probably stood out in Campton that morning were Polly Peacham and Vanna too. So the ground is the thing with Polly Peacham. The better it is, the better for her. She has a chance. I think she's a good each way chance and a good each way bet at 8 or 9 to 1. But Annie Power, she's of Willie's favourites for the week. She's the one. They say she's flying. Last year's World Hurdle form, I'm not sure if Tom thinks that was a good race or a bad race, but it's definitely an awful lot better than these lots. So she's of his favourites. She's the one.
Is he?
Yeah, I'm in the Annie Power camp.
Would you back her, Mick? It's 4 to 7. Come on, that's the quick one. There we go. This is what the boys want to know. 4 to 7 in any Cheltenham race.
I think then. No. I'm too fucking tight for that. I just think that you're looking at each way prices on certain horses. I think Glenn's Melody got beat 3 parts of a length by Quevega last year. She's solid, and I think she'll be written to be placed, and I think she'll certainly be placed.
She's about 7 to 2, isn't she?
Yeah.
I looked at her the other day and I thought she cannot be out of the 3.
The money will come for Annie Power, and I think she'll be really short, especially if Willie has a good meeting. And I think.
No, he doesn't part very well with his money. Mac?
There's only 10 years of this one, lads. You won't have to go back too long.
These ignorant people, the history, the tradition, what racing means to us.
Mac, they're all here to back winners, not to listen to what won 20 years ago.
Remember, you're saying too short Annie Power, you're right. But don't forget, Quevega run it 6 times, favourite every time, 3 of them are odds on. So it's clearly a best mare in the race. Just ask a question to you: would she go for the Labyrinth World Hurdle if she'd had a proper preparation?
Yeah.
Would she have gone for that? Or
almost certainly, yeah.
You think so? Even though the doubt about the staying and the stamina and all that.
Look, I've always thought she should be running the Champion Hurdle, but the World Hurdle isn't great this year, so I'm pretty sure she'd be in there. Yeah.
I'll go along. Annie Power, a tip to win up.
Right, what's going to win the National Hunt Chase? We'll start with you, Tom. Easy one.
I didn't know we were going on the National Hunt Chase then. Thanks for that one.
We'll just do a quick line on the last 2.
I thought Noel Mead had the best chance in this race. I thought 2 of his, Fairywood and Wounded Warrior, they've been impressive in Ireland. I think they should both like the good ground, but it's not a race I've looked too much at. I think the boys looking at the paper here, I don't think Don Polly's going to run. I don't think...
He's confirmed for the RSA today, isn't he?
I don't think the Young Master's going to run. I think Barry rides that in the RSA. So it's beginning to look a weak race. Horse of Michael Hurrigan's, Derek O'Connor's booked to ride that. He was second, or he would have been second to the Gold Cup fancy Jack Adam last time. So he'd be one I'd be looking at. But he's only 10 to 1. It's not a race I've really looked at, to be honest.
Okay. Barry, any view here?
Yeah, I think Fairywood is probably the best of them. I've ridden... The job was right, he would have a chance, and if Vroom Vroom Mag went here, she could be interesting. Is she going?
Vroom Vroom Mag, the horse that Barry's on about, is one of Willie Mullins' owned by Rich Ritchie. She's a very, very good mare, and if she runs in this, she'll take a bit of pegging. But you know, the job is right. They've booked Derek O'Connor, who's one of the best amateurs, basically in the world, to ride this horse, and they mean business. He could have ridden any number of horses in the race. I think he's a good jockey book.
Okay, Mac, I can't imagine you've got a strong view here, have you?
But one thing to remember, named after Toby Baldwin.
Ice cream next to it.
It's named after Toby Baldwin, remembers him. He won it twice, Boris Heaver and Lucky Vane in the 80s. And in those days, over 4 miles, you used to run at the back of the stand. They used to go out of the side, go right round the top and come down. So those are the times have changed. I'll leave the tips to the kids.
Good point from Mac.
Right, let's move on to day 2. We'll start with the Neptune. Mick, have you a strong view here?
Well, Nichols Canyon is your favourite. The worry with Nichols Canyon is when John Gosling trained him on the flat, he had to have, you know, he was a very good horse on soft ground. He's not a great mover, this horse. He's another one I'd be worried about the ground. He's jumping, I think, on quick ground will be put under the microscope, and I think he'll fail the test. I'd be looking at other horses in here. I like Dermot Wells' horse. Windsor Park.
Windsor Park, yeah.
He's one that I think will go really well. The amazing thing is, Barry touched on it a little bit earlier. Ruby was on the morning line with us the day before Nichols Canyon won the Delight at town. And we asked him, which horse would you like to ride this weekend that you're not riding? And he said, that horse Alvizio Ville of JP McManus is trained by Willie Mullins. It's a very good workhorse at home, and they really rate it. He wanted to ride that in the same race as Nichols Canyon. Nichols Canyon ended up winning the race, and Alvizio Ville finished third. So that will tell you.
That's jockey's tips for you.
Well, there you go. But it shows you Nichols Canyon, I think, is beatable, and I'm just not convinced about it.
Okay, Barry, you ride a Vita de Rock. Would you give this one a chance?
I think he's a good chance, and a good each-way chance. He was a neck behind Parlor Games in the Cheltenham Hurdle, over 2.5. Parlor Games has a good shout as well. It's not a brilliant race. I'm not a big Nichols Canyon fan. I think he's very opposable. He's not overly big. His jumping is adequate. He's, you know, as a favourite, he's very opposable. Outlander on a line through Cheltenham Vic for me isn't good enough. Cheltenham Vic was about 4 or 5 lengths behind him in Leopardstown when he won the last day, and never jumped any of the last 4 hurdles. And Cheltenham Vic was about 12 or 15 behind Lamy Surge when he won in Ascot. So, you know, that's a compliment of Lamy Surge in one way. But, you know, Outlander can't be that good if Cheltenham Vic should have nearly beaten him. I think Vita de Rock has a great chance at 10-1. He's a rock solid each way bet.
I agree with Barry. I think Vita de Rock's got a good chance. I think Parlor Games might win by default. I think this is a bad race. I sat next to about 14 different Walshes in Ireland this week, and every single one of them hated Nichols Canyon. I couldn't work out why. But it seems to me that it's a flat horse, doesn't show anything at home, but keeps winning, so wouldn't be as negative as they were. For me, it's Parlor Games. Windsor Park, if he jumps, I think has got a really seriously good chance. He didn't jump a hurdle last time, and that's always worrying. You never know what they're going to do, but the better ground, the better his chance. I'm quite sweet on him, but I was interested that Barry's horse switched from the Albert Partner to this race recently. I think Nicky and Barry probably noticed that this was a weaker race than the Albert Partner. I give him a good chance.
So the RSA Chase, 4 of the last 5 winners of this ran in the Albert Partner the year before, and the Irish have won it 16 in the last 18 years. It's a bit more relevant than what won in 1912. Right, Don Poley, 4 off. Don Poley is a very popular selection, and today he was confirmed for this race, Tom. Are you a fan or not?
Well, I admit to backing this horse at, I think, 20-1 when he won, straight after he won the race, the conditionals for this race, and so when they said they were going for the 4 mile, I wasn't a happy bunny, that's for sure. But look, it is a really good race.